Hi, everybody. It's Vivek Patel here from Meaningful Ideas. Yeah, I wanted to talk about something called the solution mindset versus the problem mindset in as it relates to parenting. That's something I wanted to talk about because so often we're trained, especially as young people, we're trained to look at life as a problem, and the problem is always kind of haunting us. And a lot of the time, that's why that's why there's this whole thing about getting in trouble. Like uh, one of my sayings is, if you ask your kid, is there anything that you could do that you think you would get in trouble with me? And if they can come up with an answer, you need to change your parenting. You need to change the relationship so that there's nothing they can think of that you would get in trouble with. Not because you let them do anything, but because you don't think in terms of you think in terms of guidance, and it's a whole different thing, right? Guidance is a very different thing, because when we want to be an effective guide to our kids, we want to really guide them throughout life. I mean, why not, right? I mean, I had my kid when I was 28. Now, I was still a young punk at 28, but still, even as a young punk, I had 28 years of mistakes. I had 28 years of learning. Why not share that with the world? Yeah, that's what I'm doing now. But why not share that with my kid? Why not share the things I've learned about communication? Why not share the things I've learned about love and heartache? Why not share the things I've learned about honoring yourself and honoring your truth? Why not share the things I've learned about peer pressure and listening to other people and not trusting your heart? Why not share the things I've learned about taking care of your body and forgetting to do that when you're young? Like, I had so much I could share with her, and I was like, well, the problem is, if I don't create a relationship where she wants to hear that stuff from me, all that knowledge is going to go to waste. And and then she's going to be the typical teenager who rolls her eyes when her dad tries to tell her something. I didn't want that. I wanted her to think of my wisdom as something that was exciting for her, something that would benefit her, and that she would look forward to. Which requires a lot of thinking, of course. It requires a lot of planning and strategy and tuning in. I mean, it's not really strategy, but the strategy is tuning in and being responsive in the moment to what she's saying, to what our kids are saying, to what they're feeling. Yeah, so how does this relate to problem mindset versus solution mindset? So when we're young, if we are engaged in managing a coercive system, which most of us were, almost everybody I know, maybe I know my daughter who wasn't, and then I know maybe like 2 or 3 other people, but everyone else I know, we grew up managing a coercive system. We grew up managing punishments and rewards. We grew up managing disapproval. We grew up managing, I'm not angry, I'm just disappointed. We grew up managing grades. We grew up managing all sorts of things. And so when you grow up managing that, everything is like a problem that you have to be careful of. And that's what we learn. And so then we transfer that onto our relationship with our kids. And we come at things from a problem mindset. So when they maybe if they yell and scream about something, we suddenly see it as a problem. It's a problem. But if we switch our mindset to solution, which means changing the way we look at things, then we look for opportunity, right? We look for what is there in this moment that we can use to grow closer in understanding, closer in empathy, closer in authenticity and vulnerability and connection. Because there's always something, there's always something we can use once we turn our mind from problem to solution. Yes, the problem might be very challenging, but we can engage with it consciously, And most of the time, what does that mean? Most of the time, the solution-minded focus is to start with connection and empathy. Connecting and empathizing with our kids first. This one person online today was posting about how they have a rule that there's no cell phones allowed at the table. But the 15-year-old is starting to push back on that, and there's a lot of grunting and groaning and upset. And they're trying to use empathy, but all the empathy in the world isn't actually working because they're still refusing to come to the dinner table with without their phone. And sometimes they're grumbling about it, and sometimes they're just outright refusing. And I said, the problem is The problem is that you want the no cell phone at the dinner table because you want to create connection, but you're trying to create the connection using a structure, a hierarchical structure, power structure of punishment and rewards, which is what rules are based on. You're trying to use a hierarchical power structure that damages connection to create a condition where you're trying to create connection. It just doesn't make sense. The two are, it's like cognitive dissonance. The two are diametrically opposed. So that kid who comes to the table without their cell phone, maybe you won, and they came without the cell phone, but where's the connection? Inside, they're harboring it. They're harboring the resentment for the force. You know, my preference is if there's a moment of struggle like that, say, you know what? Bring the cell phone because I embrace your interest in it. You know, bring it. And then use that moment, use that time to connect. And then you might say, oh yeah, but they just got their head buried in it. And maybe that's true, but I still don't think that coercion is the answer. See, that's the thing. People always say, yeah, but. There's always a yeah, but. I remember when I was in grade 12 English, my teacher, Mr. Lapointe, great English teacher, brilliant man, and I was just telling someone today that in many ways in grade 12, he taught me that I could think, you know? He taught me to think, and he taught me that I could think, which is something I kind of had forgotten. And so I remember Mr. Lapointe had nicknamed one of the students in the class Yeah But, because everything he would say, the kid would go, yeah but. So he just started, he wouldn't use his name, he just called him Yeah But. And that's what I hear a lot of the time when I talk about this, is like, yeah, but they're just going to run wild. Yeah, but it doesn't work. And the thing is, I'm not replacing one kind of control for another, right? That's not what's happening here. It's a whole mindset shift. It's recognizing that learning is a long-term process, that it's slow and it's challenging and it's difficult and it's human. And that's beautiful. That's a whole different way of looking at it, you know? And then when the kid yells, you're like, this is the human experience unfolding. It's something beautiful and I get to be a part of it. It's so wonderful. What an opportunity here. Opportunity to show this person that in the midst of struggle, we can love each other. Let me give this person love. And then what a lesson that is, you know? That's a much better lesson than don't talk to me that way. And so it shifts the relationship, right? It shifts the relationship because the cell phone coming to the table by doing it without force, it's painful, and then the kid feels like a problem. They feel broken, and they feel like you're trying to fix them, you know? And that never turns out well. It's like then trying to get the kid to resist, and then all this pressure and all the division it created. Like, it wasn't worth it to me. You like, her kids couldn't stand her by the end, you know? And they didn't know themselves any better. Like, the whole thing was a whole crumbling mess because they didn't collaborate, they didn't talk together, they didn't explore. You know, it was all force, and it was all disappointment and emotional force too. Because emotional punishment is just as much as a physical punishment, if not more. Well, I won't say if not more, but just as much. Let me say. And next time you feel frustrated with your kid, just stop for a minute and think, am I approaching this from a problem mindset or a solution mindset? As soon as you approach it from a solution mindset, all of a sudden you'll see so many creative opportunities. As soon as you're approaching it from a problem mindset, everything seems narrow. There's like one opportunity. I have to coerce. And that's one of the best ways you can tell, because the solution isn't coercion. It really isn't. You know, unless you're like in a self-defense situation and everybody's about to die, the solution is not coercion. Oh, goodness me. And we really get tricked into thinking it is. That's what the yeah but is, right? It's yeah but, can't I use coercion now? Yeah but, can't I use coercion now? But it's so difficult. What about now? Can't I? I'm going up the stairs to my apartment. Yeah, but it's so difficult. Why can't I use coercion now? Maybe now. How about now? No. No. Don't give yourself the out. Don't do it. Just say no. Just no, I'm not going to do it. Even if it's really, really difficult. And then sometimes you do, and that's okay, and then you forgive yourself and move on. But don't plan on it. Anyway, you know what I'm talking about. I love you all, I really do. I only share this stuff because I know how much more ease and joy it brings to life when you're with your kids. And I care about you. All right, that's it. Please follow me here. I'm going to go in my apartment just now. Please follow me here on Meaningful Ideas.